Welcome to the Accumulating Wealth Podcast. I'm Judson Crawford.
And I'm Hunter Satterfield. We are CPAs, wealth advisors, and partners at Kane Waters and Associates, a financial services firm here to help business owners navigate the decisions they face every day.
Yeah, and for our clients, finding ways to increase profitability in their business is always an area of focus. And not to spoil anything, but in my kickoff blog for 2026, we talk a lot about areas that need to be focused on: flexible financing, focusing on attracting new patients, and finding efficiencies in your practice to be as profitable as we can. And today, we have a client guest joining us to share with us how he did it.
That's right. I can't wait to hear his story. Let's go.
Okay, Hunter. So today we have Dr. Thomas Stone of Englewood, Colorado. You want to tell us a little bit about him?
Live and in person. Hey, Tom.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And listeners, he is back in the wonderful city of Dallas, Texas for his meeting here at Kane Waters, but also this is where he did medical school. So let me give a full bio rundown. So he is a board certified oral surgeon practicing in the Denver area in Englewood, specifically Colorado Surgical Arts, which we're going to hear a lot about, which is super cool in his journey and story over the last 25 years. He received his dental degree from UNC Chapel Hill, his medical degree, as I said, here from UT Southwestern, even stuck around at Parkland, which is one of our main hospitals here in Dallas, to do a surgery internship as well. He has all the things, Judson. On every board, all the things. Tom's a stud when it comes to that stuff. Also lectures nationwide on dental implants, and oftentimes comes on really amazing podcasts.
Yeah.
Just like this
Absolutely.
one podcast. That's right. Okay, personally, loves to run, water ski, travel with his family. Probably some UNC basketball too, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And Tom and his wife, Kimberly, have 6 kiddos. In addition, as I said, longtime client of the great Steve Kane. So welcome, Tom. Good to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about college football and stock market, right, Judson?
College football. I can talk college football.
All right. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about Dr. Stone and his practice. And Tom, I to start, what I'd like to hear is you left Dallas, you moved up to Colorado, and you started your own practice.
I did.
Like
You
hung a
did.
shingle, right?
Hung a shingle.
Super
Yeah.
cool.
And since then, the practice has changed a little bit.
Yeah, it has changed.
Yeah.
Dentistry's changed.
Well, dentistry's changed a lot as well. So
Okay. What year was it that you hung your shingle?
2000.
2000. Okay. And since that, as Judson referenced, where's the practice now? How many, tell us how many providers, how many locations, all the things.
So we have 5 surgeons and 4 locations in the Denver area. Actually, 3 locations. Our 4th location's opening in Q1 of 2026.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so that path, looking back, because this is obviously something that we help a lot of clients with, going from, being a single owner practice to a multi-doctor practice. How many years ago was it that you brought in your second doctor? And can you tell us a little bit about kind of what the decision was that led you to do that?
So we brought on a second doctor in 2015. So I went 15 years as solo, and then the last 10 with partners. And I really wasn't looking for a partner at the time, but I had a friend who called me and said, "Hey, I've got a really good colleague, and she's going to be moving to Denver. Would you like to talk to her?" And I kind of went to lunch with her, not really thinking that I was going to bring on another doctor. But during our lunch, I just really liked her. She was very kind and genuine. She was younger than me. I felt like she could engage with maybe some of the younger population, and certainly, with dentistry moving more towards, actually a majority of our providers now are female. And so I thought she could probably identify with a majority of the population that's in dentistry now. And so, and that's been a great move for us. Dr. Basil's just been a wonderful partner for 10 years now.
The rest is history. He said the same things you did. I was a younger, very genuine person. That's why you brought me on, right, Judson?
Yeah.
It's something like that.
You did meet one of the qualifications he talked about.
Oh, which one was that? I'd love to
Anyways,
know.
so this isn't uncommon because, we see this a lot, right? You practice on your own for, 15 years. You obviously grew this location from starting it, to bringing on a second doctor. And then in the last 10, you've not only added one, but you've added 3 others. So once you did that, do you think that part of it was, the confidence of having somebody else, or was it just because like, hey, we added this other person that fit, perfectly within my practice, and then, that success kind of led to the other three additions?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I learned is the person matters. It's not just a pulse. It's you need to have a shared mindset, and so that matters. But then when you bring on a partner who has a shared mindset, who provides great care and is a great surgeon or a great provider, you realize you can drive some economies of scale with the systems that you've built. And I think was really the catalyst.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things before we were going on, Judson and I were sharing that we have seen, over the past handful of years that the ability for our larger practices to scale, especially post-COVID has been, or post-stimulus maybe, has been, quite a bit ahead of just the single doctor. So, I mean, some of that might be a part of your journey too, right? Where it's like, man, then we had a third doctor and then a fourth doctor in another location and all these different types of things. And there's a lot, we can't unpack everything on why maybe it's easier for you to scale, but we'd love to maybe pull on a couple of these threads. And one of the ones that, you talked about before we went on is, just as you have grown, that the doors never close, right? I mean, there's just always somebody available. There's always somebody to see that patient. And there is a little bit too to the story. I mean, you mentioned you've done 23,000 implants in 25 years. You have all these Google reviews. Some of it is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy where more patients are happy because you found the right person. More patients are happy. They can always get themselves in. And that is part of the journey you've seen over the last 10 years, right?
Sure. I think, like you said, availability is very important. One of the things that we do really well in dentistry is we drive complexity into the equation. And I think one of the keys to scaling, no matter whether you're a specialist or a GP, is simplicity. And, you look at the best example of that, it's Google. You type in one word and you have access to the world's databases. That's the most successful form of simplicity, I think, or taking something that's very complex and making it super simple for anybody. So taking a practice and being able to have systems that are simple for not just for referring offices and for the patient, but also for your team, systems that are predictable. Once you do that, it's very easy to scale because you can do it over and over again. I mean, not easy, but I mean, it's a lot more predictable.
Yeah, it's definitely counterintuitive. I love though your concept of actually the more simple you get, the easier it is to scale. And I think again, there's a couple different places there, right? Because there's clinical processes and simplicity, and then there's also more administrative. And maybe we'll talk clinical first. You're in partnership with one of our partners, BioHorizons, and have found a lot of success just in the ability to just get treatment done, right? Eliminate wasted chair time, get treatment done. And you kind of talked about the smooth and simple journey it is for a patient from, the referring dentist over your treatment back. You want to talk a little bit about how you guys have been able to implement all of those things to really drive that scale?
Sure. So in the first decade or so that I was in practice, we used a scannable abutment called Encode, and that was made by a company called Biomet. And after that patent expired, a lot of people got into the space of scannable abutments, and I think BioHorizons has done it better than anybody else because they have a titanium anatomically shaped healing abutment. So you don't have to remove it. Patient comes in, you scan it, and then the patient doesn't need to go and have, impression material going down the back of their throat. They can just show up in their dental office and they drop in an abutment and a crown. So it's easy for the restorative dentist. It's easy for the patient. It's easy for our team. So that's been a great way to drive simplicity for the patient journey.
Well, and Judson, you and I were talking about that same thing in oral surgery is no different than other things in, general dentistry or ortho, just the ability to make the patient journey simple, quick, reduce chair time, get them in, get them out, and have them ultimately post something really positive on Google, right? And have a great journey for themselves that they then, when they want to be 23,001 implant, they're coming back to you, right?
Well, it's a barrier, right? Multiple appointments are a barrier, right? There's always something between, even if a patient says yes to a treatment coordinator, to you, doctor, then having them come back in a week or 2 week, that creates complexities. Something can happen in their life, right? Right. I mean, something can happen that they delay further. So if you can reduce that, number of appointments, I mean, it's huge. And we've seen this in our dental practices with being able to mill a crown on site for some people. We've seen it in many of our ortho practices of doing the same day starts. But I think that's super important. Now, something that you're doing, if I'm correct, and I know very little about anything except for some finances, but you do immediate implants.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So our messaging to our patients and our messaging to referring offices is that implants are as easy as 1, 2, 3. A patient has a broken tooth, they're referred to the office. The first thing we do is we try to do point of care scheduling so that we can increase our referral capture rate, capture that referral. The more referrals that we capture, the more implants we're going to place. So we take out, patient comes in, we take out the tooth, we put the implant in the same day. So immediate solution for the missing tooth. Then they come back 8 to 12 weeks later. We do a quality assurance check, we test it, and then we do a quick 5-minute scan. And then the patient can show up in the dental office and have the abutment and the crown delivered. So 3 easy steps. I see second opinions every week where patients come in with a menu item of appointments and fees, and it just overwhelms them. And when they realize they can do it in 3 steps and we have a predictable and fair fee, they're all in. And like you alluded to, when they need that next implant, they know where they're going to go. They're going to come back. We've really tried to nail that experience, give them a 5-star experience, treat them well, make it easy for them.
And, obviously in your journey over the last, 25 years, I mean, you weren't doing that, right? You weren't even doing that 10 years ago, right?
Actually, we started intraoral scanning in 2010.
Okay. So yeah,
we embraced it pretty early.
Pretty early. And I think that's part of, I was having this conversation with my client today, Judson, questions about technology that's coming and AI and robotics and all this stuff. And it's like, really, what we can't do is we can't predict it. What we can say is we can make sure that we're first into it, right? And learning early and doing the CE and whatnot. And then also that, whatever it is, we're willing to implement it, build the systems around it, and fail. And that's okay if you fail on some of it, right? Because ultimately you're going to arrive at the system and the process that allows you to scale, as we've talked about.
Yeah, I think if you can leverage technology, and early on I saw that we could use technology to make the customer or the patient journey easier. So we embraced that. But then I saw a lot of colleagues who would buy all this expensive equipment and they don't have systems to support the technology. So the CAD CAM machine or the CERAC machine sits in the corner. It becomes a really expensive coat hanger for the practice. So you have to, I think any type of technology that you want to implement, you need to have systems that go with that. And then that's what makes the patient experience better.
So taking this and now going maybe a little bit on the admin, and when I say admin, maybe just, I'd love for you to share a bit your success on just the referral relationships and the network that you've been able to build. Because I think it's also a huge story of the patient journey. They feel like it's just a one-stop shop, even though you have no relation necessarily back to their other dentist. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about what that looks like in your practice, how you manage the relationship well, and therefore how you can scale it to all these customers that you work with?
Yes, great question. So I think that the keys to our growth over the years have been twofold. One is education and one is communication. And I early on, I realized if I provide quality education where I make my colleagues better, I make them more profitable around me, then we're going to win. We're going to win together. It's not just unilateral. And then second is if I communicate with them better than anybody else, that sets me apart. And people actually gravitate to you if you communicate with them, if you just give them simple updates, because not a lot of people in dentistry communicate. We're all siloed. We work within our 4 walls of our office. And we've, leveraged some technology and platforms so that we can literally build a digital, a digital community around our office, where we provide virtual education on a mobile device, where we can literally communicate with 183 dentists with one secure text message. So that's really been, I think, the key to scaling. Also, if you go to a lunch and learn, you're gonna impact one dentist and one team. If I have 183 dentists on a digital platform that's secure, and I can post one message, I've reached 183 dentists with a click of a button. So that's been a key to our growth as well, is just being able to scale digitally.
So you talked earlier about systems and efficiencies and systems being such a big part of what has gotten your practice to where it is today. We mentioned continuing education a little bit. One of the things that I want to ask you is, going back to when you first hung your shingle and then getting to where you are today. Obviously, you use some professionals, as far as like you've been using Kane Waters for 25 years. But to get to where you are today with the systems, we don't have to name names, but have you used consulting firms to allow you to gain those efficiencies, or has it really just been things that you've kind of tested and gotten to?
Early on, I was hiring consultants, and not Kane Waters. Kane Waters has been more of a financial consultant, but I mean practice consultants. And I never felt like anybody really gave me keys to growth. And so I looked around and I found individuals in our specialty that were doing things really well. And we started to meet every year at the Denver airport. We'd go to the Westin, and we'd rent out a room, and there would be it started with 5 of us, and then it grew to 12, and then it grew to 40 of us. And we would share best practices. And there's not a lot of practices that are doing 1,000 implants a year. And so to be able to sit down in a boardroom with 5 or a dozen of your colleagues that are all feeling the same pain points, it became the best CE that I did every year. And you can share things openly, you can share metrics, and that everything's going to be confidential there. That was probably one of the best things that helped me. So finding somebody who's doing it well, or who has done it, and then copying them, that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Best practices are a wonderful thing to share. And I think that, whether it's a consultant or whether it's a group of successful doctors or, whatever it is, I think the point is that, you can find so much value and growth in your practice by just looking outside of the 4 walls of your own practice and the things that right?
Yeah. I mean, we all work in the practice, but how many of us take a little bit of time to work on the practice? And I think dentists, clinicians who really go to another level take a little bit of time out to work on their practice. They got to stop the car. They can't change the tires while it's going 150 miles an hour. So taking a little bit of time to sharpen the saw is good.
So can we talk a little bit about quality control, right? So you've gone, as we've told your journey a little bit, you've scaled dramatically. You've got immediate implant placement going on, right? And you've got a great partner in bio with that. At the same time, there's all kinds of staff. There's multiple providers, multiple locations. How do you maintain quality control, both clinically, right? But then also on the sort of administrative referral relationship side? You're one guy. So, and I know you have other, business partners as well that can help, but how do you maintain that across the entire practice as you've scaled over these last 10 years?
Great question. I think two thoughts on that. Number one is internal communication. So we have external communication that's really good, but we also have our internal communication where I can send out on a secure platform one text, and I can reach all 55 of our employees with one message. So it brings us all together. It unifies the message. The second thing on...
Sorry, can I stop on that real quick? So are you using that both in an encouraging, but then also a constructive way? So are you sending out like motivational things to the team, but then also, hey, here's something that we need to change or whatever else it is?
100%. Yeah. I mean, and so it drives systems, and systems are consistent, successful processes that are documented and upgraded and improved every year. And so every year we sit down and we review our systems and we emphasize, okay, these are what our systems are. They're documented. And then if we need to change them, we change them and adjust. The second thought on QA is, and this is, where BioHorizons has been a great partner, is just having an SLA surface with a great success rate. We do a little stability test when the patient comes back, and then their smart shape healing abutments have such incredible hard and soft tissue profiling that the prostheses that are delivered just drop in. I mean, it makes the process really easy for restorative dentists.
So over the years, as you've gone through this, and Judson related to maybe the different relationships you've had, not just with other doctors, but maybe different providers, right? How have you sort of self-selected, and then obviously now as you've got a doctor leadership team as well, how is the team self-selected which partners they want to work with? Is it a, hey, you're providing the product that we like, or sort of the ethos of your organization is similar? Like, how have you partnered with various organizations over the years to say, hey, we're going to do everything with this with you, whether it's marketing, whether it's a clinical thing, whatever else it is?
Well, again, it goes to simplicity. If you've got the more partners you have, the more difficult it can be. And so having, a single implant system, a single dental supply provider or supplier, I think those are things that certainly simplify the process. Did I answer that question? Okay?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I love hearing that, because one of the things that we talk about with our multi-location, multi-doc practices is if they're out there ordering, some stuff on Amazon and over here with their equipment rep and their dental rep over here, that's time that's being wasted not doing other things in the practice, right?
Yeah.
And the things that really drive production in the practice. And so I think that's actually I love the message that you have of just like the simplicity drives the growth. And the more that we can get our doctors and the listeners can focus on, hey, keeping things super simple will actually give you the success long term, I think the better. So,
well, okay. So when I first brought our first partner on, Dr. Basil, she did some things differently than I did. And I had to decide, well, how important are my processes as opposed to adopting her processes and just making that one system? Because if you do it differently, then you've essentially doubled the number of decisions that the team has to make. And then you bring on your third partner, you meet together and you decide, okay, what is our third molar protocol? Are we going to do IV antibiotics? Are we going to do PO antibiotics? What are the prescriptions that we're going to give? If every doctor has a different system or a different protocol, you're going to multiply that, and then that's not going to scale. So you have to simplify those processes, and that's where having partners that are on board with, hey, what's going to be easy for the team, so that you're not, it's like the number of decisions that you have to make in a day, right? You're just reducing those number of decisions. That makes things a lot easier.
One of the things that I want to hit on before we wrap up is, you mentioned earlier that, when you first started your practice, one of your biggest marketing decisions was whether you put your name in bold or not in the yellow pages, right? And you talked about how things have changed so much over the years. But one of the keys in these times where I think that gaining access to the new patient is harder than it was 3 or 4 years ago. You mentioned that your number one referral in your practice is actually your own patients, which I think is huge, and I think it's not something that we typically think about in oral surgery. How have you guys gotten there? How have you gotten to where, your patients are that big of a referral for you?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I can pinpoint a tipping point over the last 10 or 15 years, but there was a point where I realized that patients were coming back. And I think rather than trying to, take it all in at once and think, how am I going to turn this tide? I think you just have to approach it one patient encounter at a time. And our goal at Colorado Surgical Arts is when that patient comes in, we want to nail that experience. We want to exceed their expectations. We want to make it simple for them and just give them 5-star customer service. And then the water cooler discussions at work, the discussions at family dinners, when the patient needs a second implant, they're not going anywhere else. They're going to go back to their restorative dentist and say, they treated me so well, I'm not going anywhere else. So I think it's just taking that every patient encounter is an opportunity.
Well, I think it's such an interesting thing. And we've talked about this before too. It's like, you can have the prettiest marketing, you can spend a bunch of money, you can be the best oral surgeon or practitioner in the world. And then if they have a bad experience with your front desk person, you lost it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's experience from, the first interaction they have with your practice until they walk out the door.
I have a colleague who just retired. He's a general dentist, probably one of the most successful dental practices in Denver. And he didn't even have a website, zero marketing. Everything was word of mouth. And his patients just loved him. I mean, they would come to us and they'd just say, we send everybody to him. So I think we shouldn't undervalue that form of just, marketing to the patient.
Absolutely.
Yeah, super cool. Well, thank you. This has been fantastic. We're now going to say a group prayer that you have to spend the rest of the day with Steve Kane.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's the best year. It's the best day of my year, when I can sit down with Steve and, figure out if I can be in practice another year.
And you said you water ski. Do you also snow ski?
I snow ski. Yeah.
What's your favorite mountain?
Ironically, I live in Colorado, but I love Deer Valley and Snowbird.
Yeah.
So those are, I love to go to Utah.
Yeah.
If I have to ski in Colorado, I'll usually be at Mary Jane Winter Park.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Before we get to my closing, which I know all listeners love so much, there is this thing, Hunter. I don't know if you know this. There's this thing on Spotify that kind of shows you your year in review.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Yeah, I got my year in review the other day. I'll share that maybe on one of these podcasts.
Okay. Well, mine contains both Hamilton and K-pop Demon Hunter, unfortunately.
This does not surprise me.
But we got an email and were informed one of our top super fans, Dr. Chris Gregoire, had us #1 podcast on his Spotify year-end review.
Let's go,
Chris. We appreciate you. Shout out to you up in Maine. And so, let us know if we are your #1 podcast, you let us know and I will say your name on the podcast. All right. The best way to keep up with this is to hit the subscribe button. That way you never have to miss an episode and you can always go back and catch up on all the ones you've missed. If you're enjoying the show, leave us a review. We really do want to hear what you think. If you have a question, comment, or even an idea for a future episode, reach out to us at kmotors.com/wealth. We read them, and yes, we actually reply. And if you want to learn more about what we do when we're not behind the mic, visit kmotors.com, where we're helping more than 3,400 clients work towards their long-term financial goals. Thanks for listening to the Accumulating Wealth podcast. We'll see you next time.